Chapter 2405. Saito was like a spider crawling on the iron net made of chains, staring at Clolu. Even though he was expressionless, Clolu felt like he was being stared at by the Grim Reaper. When a tiger loses patience with its prey, it will show its most ferocious side. Saito was just like that. I have to say, you've really surprised me. You've improved so much, and it's all thanks to a human. Everyone will be shocked if they hear about this. After all, you're the third primogenitor, but you managed to break the arm of the second primogenitor. You're not simple, Saito said slowly. His expression was cold and as steady as a rock. TSK, you put it nicely, but you're still scared, aren't you? Just like what that guy said, everyone likes to bully the weak and fear the strong. Clolu said disdainfully. He could see that Sato's face was unnatural and his lips were trembling. As Dustless said before, bullying the weak and fearing the strong was the nature of a person. However, your current appearance is also very frightening. Your arm was twisted and you don't smell blood. At this point, Clolu's tone sank. Are you a human or a ghost right now? Clolu stared at Chi Ting without blinking. His cute cheeks were tense and wrinkled. He sincerely felt that the Chi Ting in front of him was too terrifying. His appearance was handsome and bright, but his mind was unfathomable, like a bottomless abyss. It was impossible to see through his essence. This guy is strong, I'm not his opponent. Clolu thought to himself, his chest was panting uncomfortably. Although Clolu had the upper hand in the previous exchange, he had used all his strength. Sato's dodging was just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. I'm embarrassed to hear you say that. Saito waved his hand like a little girl and said seriously. Do you know why we were abandoned by the ancestor? It's because I'm still a vampire. The times have changed and my identity has to change. This is how the times should be. Otherwise, I'll be eliminated. Saito pursed his lips, his mouth curved into a smile. Obviously, he admitted that he wasn't a vampire. Brother, Clolu muttered. She suddenly thought of her brother, and her beautiful eyes dimmed. Her brother had been chosen by the first primogenitor, and both of them had mysteriously disappeared. When they met again, he had actually become a ghost. Truly, the affairs of the world were unpredictable. Swish, 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 all of a sudden, a gust of chilly wind assaulted his entire body. The absent-minded Clolu immediately shuddered and cursed himself for being careless. Cut the crap, hurry up. The words that came out of his mouth came to an abrupt halt. Seeing the black shadow in front of him, Clolu's expression changed greatly and he retreated without hesitation. Too slow. Saito coldly snorted, his figure moving like a ghost as he quickly closed the distance between them. Although Clolu's strength had greatly improved, he was still a third-generation primogenitor while Saito was a second-generation primogenitor. There was a huge gap between them. Even if Dustless had trained him well, it was impossible for Clolu to become as strong as a second-generation primogenitor in just a few years. Get over here. Several iron chains shot out from Saito's back. They were like strong giant snakes that nimbly wrapped around Clolu's legs. Soon after, Saito exerted a little force, and Clolu couldn't break free from that terrifying force and instantly flew over. Bang! Caw caw caw! Saito's ferocious nature erupted as his big hand suddenly pressed down on Cruz's cheek and immediately smashed him to the ground, crushing a large area of the floor. Although it didn't harm Cruz's life, he still spat out a large mouthful of blood. Yeah. Why is it so exaggerated? I only used a little force, why do you look like you're about to be crippled? Saito asked with a mocking smile, full of disdain. I have nothing to say. Kill me if you want. Clolu's courage was commendable, and he didn't even blink. You'd rather die than tell me about Dustless. Saito's face slightly trembled, extremely surprised. He didn't expect that Clolu would be willing to risk his life to not reveal information about Dustless. Humph, don't compare me with a treacherous villain like you. You want me to betray you? Are you worthy? Are you worthy? Don't say that I don't know what kind of mysterious person Dustless is. Even if I knew, don't expect me to tell you. Compared to him, you're simply a joke. No, to put it more bluntly, you're a fart. Clolu's tone was sharp like a knife, stabbing into the weakest part of Saito's body. Obviously, she was also unafraid of death. Mocking the second ancestor was a fart, she was simply seeking death. Humph. Hearing this, although Saito didn't kill Clolu on the spot, his eyes were filled with the light of a death god. It wasn't hard to see that once he got the information he wanted, he would definitely not hesitate to destroy the flower. You don't dare. Clolu curled her lips in disdain, and her sneer became even more obvious. I thought you were a fart just now, but now you're even less than a fart. Just a name alone is enough to make you not dare to act rashly. If Dustless himself comes, won't you still kneel and beg for mercy? This is the second ancestor, Saito. If word gets out, it's too. Gotcha. Saito seemed to have had enough of Clolu's nagging. He controlled the iron chain on his right arm and shot it out. A dark light fell from the sky like a divine sword. A cold light flashed from the right side of Clolu's body. After a loud bang, Clolu's right arm disappeared. That's it. Saito, you're too useless. Clolu didn't even blink when his right arm was chopped off. Instead, he said, since you're so eager to get information about Dustless, it can only mean that you're afraid of him. Ayaya. I'm impressed by your glib tongue, Clolu. Did you learn this from Dustless? Sure enough, it's true that a famous teacher produces a brilliant student. As if he had really accepted his fate, Saito retracted all the iron chains on his body and slowly approached Clolu step by step. Clolu's expression didn't change. Although her arm was chopped off, she didn't seem to feel any pain. Or rather, she was used to it. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish, Clolu. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2406. Saito is like the Grim Reaper. Don't be fooled by his gentlemanly appearance. In fact, he's a cunning old fox. There were countless people who had been cheated by him. Die! Saito roared. Dense chains shot out from his back and aimed at Clolu's heart. Am I going to die? Clolu closed her eyes in despair. Now that things had come to this, she had no regrets. She had no regrets following Wu Qin. If she died today, she could only blame herself for being inferior. She was actually grateful to Wu Qin. Bang 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 bang. The dense chains hit Clolu's body, but there's no bloody scene. It's like hitting a rock. Clolu is unharmed. All the chains shot out by Saito bounced back. What is that? Saito narrowed his eyes and suddenly found something wrong. What is this? At this moment, not to mention Saito, even Crew realized that something was wrong. In front of her, a transparent barrier appeared out of nowhere. It's the barrier that blocked Sato's attack. There's someone else here. Saito said to himself in horror. His eyes widened to the maximum. He looked as far as he could, but there was no one there. Strange, looking at the wall in front of Clolu, Saito was puzzled. Could it be that the heavens had opened their eyes and saved Clolu? What a joke. Looking at Clolu's blank face, she obviously doesn't know what's going on. Vampires are really a slow race. A cold voice suddenly came. Sato's heart suddenly trembled. Cold sweat dripped down his body. He quickly looked over. What kind of master is this? Even I didn't notice him. Coming and going without a trace, didn't that mean that this person could kill him as easily as flipping his hand? Thinking of this, Saito suddenly felt a chill down his spine. He felt like there's a big sword on his neck. It's you. Sato's face changed when he saw the person. His handsome face almost turned into a pig liver. I should have known it was this guy. But I'm sorry. You didn't think it was me until the end. Although you've seen my real body now, I'm sorry to tell you that it's too late. Wu Chen spoke with fervor and assurance. His words scared Qi Ting so much that his face turned ashen. This sentence revealed too much meaning. Listening to Wu Chen's words, it seemed that Wu Chen wanted to kill him. You want to kill my people? You're overestimating yourself. Glancing at Kalulu, Wu Chen didn't hide his contempt and said directly, I can beat 10 trash like you. Beat 10 of me. Sato's mouth twitched. He felt like he can't stand it anymore. He used to be the second ancestor. But this guy said that he can beat 10 of him. Your Excellency is too presumptuous. Sooner or later, you will fail miserably. Saito coldly shouted. If he didn't fart now, he would really be looked down upon. Presumptuous. Nonsense. Actually, I've restrained myself enough. Dustless shook his head and said indifferently, I'll be frank. You should be proud that I can talk to you. PFFF. Saito almost spat out his saliva. Can't this guy be more low-key? He had seen arrogant people before, but he had never seen someone so arrogant. It was as if he was the loser. Sir Dustless. Seeing Dustless appear, Clola was touched. She thought that she would be abandoned. Who would have thought that Dustless would fight with Saito for her? You're too reckless to fight with me for a pawn. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? Saito asked in a puzzled manner. If he were Dustless, he would have decisively refused. Fight with you? Are you an idiot? This is just a one-sided annihilation. Dustless sneered. Idiots nowadays like to think that they're infallible. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2407. Ah! You've been modified into this. Dustless's interest was piqued. He picked up a broken part and said, Forgive me for being blunt, but even if you modified yourself, it doesn't change much. You're still dead. It's just a matter of lifting my foot. No matter how sturdy the machine was, it was just a matter of lifting a foot for Dustless. Is that so? Saito, who was supposed to be dead, spoke again with a hint of pride in his voice. You want to destroy me with a single kick. You're looking down on me. With that, a large number of chains shot out from Sato's back and grabbed all the broken parts and stuffed them back into his head. In the blink of an eye, Saito was back to normal. Even his mangled face was restored to its original state. He didn't seem to have suffered any injuries at all. I can't kill you with a single kick. Dustless smiled contemptuously. He lifted his foot and stepped on Sato's head again. Then let's do it again. Bang! A brutal kick landed on the back of Sato's head. The repaired head shattered like a watermelon. Some parts even turned into powder. So strong. Clola clicked her tongue. At this moment, the third ancestor was like a little girl who had never seen the world. She was shocked by Dustless's strength. The second ancestor, Saito, was like a pawn that couldn't even withstand a single blow. Clola felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction when she saw him being stepped on. Seems like I've followed the right person. The corners of Clola's mouth inadvertently revealed a trace of a charming smile. She looked at Dustless with a slightly different gaze. At this moment, Clola was quite charming. She had lost the arrogance and nobility that belonged to a queen and had gained the cuteness and playfulness of an ordinary girl. ****, this is so frustrating. Sato's crushed head was repaired again. Although it was unscathed, Sato's face was green with anger. He was a well-known figure, the second ancestor of the vampires. He had lived for thousands of years. What had he not seen before? Saito knew that there were only a few people in the world who could be compared with him, but Dustless was the one in front of him. His head had been crushed by Dustless over and over again. Although his body could recover without limit, it was still a great humiliation for him. Have you finally realized that you're worthless? Lowering his head to look at the furious Qi-Ting, Wu Chen casually said, sometimes, it's not a good thing to be immortal. Being tortured over and over again, being hit over and over again, it's better to die early. The earlier you die, the earlier you can reincarnate. Don't underestimate me. Hearing this, Sato's eyelids twitched fiercely. He supported himself on all fours and raised his head forcefully. Because of anger, his eyes turned blood red. He glared at the expressionless Wu Chen, trying to push away the stinky foot on his head. Seeing this, Wu Chen's eyes flashed coldly. Who allowed you to look up at me? Lightspeed kick. His right foot stepped on Sato's head, creating a dazzling destructive light, as if it was plated with a layer of gold. Due to the high temperature, Sato's head began to melt. The top of his head was burnt to a golden color, slowly melting. A clear fist-sized hole appeared, through which Sato's head could be seen. Boom boom boom. The shining foot exploded, and the ground trembled. Sato's body was blown to smithereens, leaving nothing behind. His body parts were scattered all over the place. Bang! A pitch-black sphere fell in front of Clolu. She looked down and saw that it was an eyeball, and it was still spinning. Disgusting. Seeing this, Crew was indescribably annoyed. He decisively stepped on it, and with a bang, it shattered into powder. The technology of the 100 Knights sect can be called a black weapon. They actually transformed Saito into such a monster. No wonder he abandoned his vampire body. If he couldn't create a suitable body for Saito, he obviously wouldn't give up his original identity as a vampire. This modified body could be said to be heaven-defying. No matter what kind of damage it suffered, it could be repaired flawlessly. The vampire in the past was also powerful. Only the ghost curse weapon could kill him. Other weapons were useless. However, they were not as powerful as Sato's modified body. Does that mean this guy can't be killed? Cruella opened her mouth and asked in shock. No matter how she attacked, she couldn't kill his body. How powerful was that? Didn't that mean he was invincible? In other words, even Dustless couldn't kill him. Hee hee. You only know how powerful I am now. Sorry, it's too late. Sato's broken body reformed again. He even ignored Cruella. His eyes were locked on Dustless with murderous intent. This kid had humiliated him so much that he had to pay for it. Whoosh! Whoosh! Countless black chains once again broke out of his body. There were so many of them that the naked eye couldn't see them all. The only thing that could be seen was a dense mass. There were more than thousands of them. It was hard to imagine what kind of monster Saito had been transformed into. How could such a thin body contain so many chains? A spider. Seeing Sato's exaggerated posture, Cruella cursed and quickly hid behind Dustless's back. This was the only safe place in the world. Let's stop the fight between kids. Wu Chen was a little impatient. Several black balls suddenly appeared behind his back. They were about the size of a fist. Disappear without a trace. Dustless flicked his finger gently, and several balls shot directly at Qi-Ting like cannonballs. Using these truth-seeking balls to eliminate him was giving this kid face. Crack. Crack. The moment the sphere appeared, everything within a radius of 70 meters inexplicably collapsed, including Sadhu's ferocious chains. Everything disappeared without any warning. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2408. What the hell is this? This was the first time in his life that Saito screamed. His trembling voice was filled with endless fear. Witnessing such a horrifying scene, his blood began to boil uncontrollably. The moment the black sphere appeared, it was as if the world had come to an end. Everything in the world began to crumble rapidly. Not only did the chains that Saito shot out crumble, but even the grass and trees around him disappeared without a trace. Even the abandoned buildings collapsed inexplicably and turned into a pile of yellow sand in the blink of an eye. What kind of ability is this? How can a mere human have such an ability? Could this guy be the reincarnation of a god? Saito looked constipated. It was as if he had swallowed a pound of flies. It was as ugly as it could get. Bang! At the same time, Sadhu's body began to dismember inexplicably. Fix it! Saito roared angrily. Once again, he shot out a large number of chains from his body in an attempt to retrieve the broken pieces. Who would have thought that the chains would disappear without a trace the moment they came into contact with the broken pieces? To a certain extent, the truth-seeking jade is indeed an ability that only a god can possess. Dustless spoke frankly. He stared at Sadhu's half-broken body and said slowly, "No matter how sturdy your body is, it will still turn into ashes in front of the truth-seeking jade. Even your soul will not be able to escape the punishment of the truth-seeking jade. I know I was wrong. Please let me go. I am willing to be your servant." Even though Saito had lived for thousands of years, he was still terrified in the face of true death. He bowed and begged Dustless for mercy. He still had a grand plan in mind. He was not willing to die like this, especially in such an inexplicable way. "You want to be my slave?" Wuchen looked at Chi Ting, who was begging for mercy. He was surprised. "Yes, you heard me right. Master Dustless, I am willing to be your servant. I will follow your orders from now on. If you ask me to go east, I will go even if it means going through a mountain of swords and a sea of fire." Saito patted his chest and vowed. In his opinion, Dustless would definitely agree. He was, after all, one of the top experts in the world. He would be overjoyed to be Dustless's servant. With his second primogenitor as a subordinate, Dustless would be smiling even in his dreams. "I appreciate your kindness, but I'm sorry." Dustless coldly glanced at Chi Ting, obviously rejecting him. "You're too weak. You're not qualified." After that, Dustless controlled the truth-seeking orb to move forward. Under Sadhu's incredulous gaze, the black orb directly hit his head. Boom boom boom. Following a violent explosion, Saito and the ground within a few hundred meters were destroyed. Affected by the shock waves of the truth-seeking orb, even the ground was scorched black. Not a single blade of grass grew, turning the area into a land of death. The dignified second primogenitor died just like that. Crew rubbed his eyes. After discovering that Saito had disappeared, he wasn't as happy as he had imagined. He just stood there in a daze. "Get rid of the word dignified for me. He's just a piece of trash." Dustless said disapprovingly, "You can't say that Saito has no value at all. He must know something about the Seraph of Termination." After Saito stepped down from the position of second primogenitor, he had allied himself with the 100 Knights sect. Moreover, he was the person in charge of the Seraph of Termination. He must know some secrets that no one else knew. Then why did you kill him? Isn't that like throwing a stone into the sea? There's no way for me to find out. Crew looked at Dustless in confusion. In his impression, Dustless was a meticulous person. He wouldn't be so reckless. No, no, no. This only proves that you don't understand me. Gazing at the distant horizon, Dustless's lips curled into a thought-provoking smile. Sometimes, it's not good for a secret to be exposed. If you find out the truth one day, you might be disappointed. What's so bad about being in a fog like this? Having a conspiracy is a good thing. At least I won't be bored. What a strange person, Crew shook his head. She didn't understand Dustless's thoughts and couldn't be bothered to ask. Everyone had different pursuits. Crew and Dustless saw the world differently, so their thoughts were naturally different. In a certain meeting room of the Emperor Ghost King, it was different from the previous meetings. At this moment, the floor was covered in blood. The corpses of the Emperor Ghost Kings were everywhere. Some of them had shocking military ranks, but without exception, everyone was lying in a pool of blood. Pfft. As the Marshal of the Emperor Ghost King, no one dared to challenge his dignity. He was usually high and mighty, but now, he was a miserable stray dog with a knife wound that covered his entire chest. Tai Tianli widened his eyes and stared at the figure in front of him. He clenched his fist tightly and threw a punch over. Pfft. This mysterious figure didn't show any mercy. He directly chopped off Tai Tianli's right arm with a sinister smile that was even scarier than the devil's. You brat, I really regret not killing you back then. Tai Tianli's face turned pale from the pain. He said regretfully, Dustless told me to pay attention to you, brat. I didn't expect to fall in your hands. Is that so? Then, I can only wish for you, old man. This mysterious figure said coldly. With the help of the weak filthy light, one could vaguely see this person's appearance. It was the leader of the Moon Ghost Group, Ike's Honren. It's just as that guy said. The Dusk people want to kill me, and so do you. Tai Tianli closed his eyes in despair. If he had listened to Dustless, he wouldn't be in such a miserable state now. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 2409. Dustless. It's that damned guy again. Ever since that guy appeared, everything that I expected to happen has gone against my expectations. It's all because of that stinking brat. At the mention of Wu Qin, the Jinx, Ike's Honglian's somewhat prideful face immediately darkened. Her face tensed up as well. She did not have a good impression of Dustless. Because of Dustless's appearance, a series of accidents had occurred. All of her plans had failed, and now, even G Twilight and his partner, G Late Night, were dead. If it was only because Twilight Walker had been killed, Ike's Hongren would naturally not hate Dustless. On the contrary, she would thank him. After all, although Twilight Walker had a cooperative relationship with her, his surname was still Walker. He also had the blood of the Walker family flowing through his veins. In the end, they would still be enemies in the future. Their current cooperation was only because they shared the same interests. Once the vampires were eliminated in the future, Ike's Hongren and Twilight Walker would become enemies. G Late Night was different. Although his surname was also G, he was only an adopted son. He had no G family blood, and he hated the G family as much as Ike's Hongren. It was also because G Late Night was killed by Dustless that Ike's Hongren hated him to the core. She wanted nothing more than to skin Dustless alive. After all, G Late Night was her most important ally. That's right, it's fine if you didn't mention it. Now that you mention it, I just remembered that Wu Qin has an unusual relationship with you. Tell me about his background. See Tianli, I'll let you die a quick death. Otherwise, have you tried to slowly peel off your flesh? That feeling is very enjoyable. I-Case Hongren said those words with a smile. The surviving Emperor Ghost Army felt a chill run down their spines. Even I-Case Hongren's subordinates paled. Was this still the gentle I-Case Hongren from before? Now, it was as if she had been possessed by a demon. I do know a lot about him, but I advise you not to ask too much. Some things are too outrageous. You'll think that you're listening to a fairy tale. Tai Tianli panted heavily. He knew that he was on the verge of death. I-Case Red Lotus did not immediately kill him. Instead, she wanted to drain his blood and slowly torture him to death. Are you sure you want me to say it? It's best if you don't, or you'll definitely pee in your pants. That guy is more terrifying than you can imagine. Yun Tianli ridiculed. When he mentioned Dustless, a trace of awe flashed across his eyes. The way he looked at I-Case Red Lotus was like that of a clown, filled with disdain and contempt. In his opinion, a nobody like her who wanted to challenge Dustless was like an ant trying to shake the heavens. She wouldn't even know how she died. Humph, do you think I'm afraid of him? Why did it end up involving the first ancestor of the vampires? The most unacceptable thing was that Yun Tianli said that Dustless killed the first ancestor a few years ago. What kind of situation was this? This joke was not funny at all. Treat this old man. Don't let him die so quickly. You have to pull me out of a big hole. Otherwise, your sons and daughters will die. I-Case Red Lotus ordered coldly. She had already thrown caution to the wind. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:10. Hearing Tai Tianli's explanation, I-Case Hongren's heart palpitated with fear. At the same time, she was deeply puzzled. The secrets involved in this matter were unimaginable. How could the legendary first primogenitor be killed by Dustless? No matter how it was explained, I-Case Hongren found it hard to accept. This was too absurd. It was as if a god who could move mountains and fill seas was killed by a weak human. It was too laughable. Hee, Tai Tianli laughed and looked at I-Case Hongren mockingly. As Tai Tianli had revealed important information, I-Case Hongren did not want him to die so quickly. At the very least, she had to extract some useful information before letting him die. Therefore, she ordered her subordinates to perform emergency treatment on Tai Tianli. Tell me everything you know about Dustless. If I'm satisfied, I can spare your life. No matter what, we're old friends. I-Case Hongren suddenly said, as if she was genuinely kind. She had a complicated expression on her face. Hee. I-Case Hongren, you don't have to pretend anymore. Do you think I don't know what kind of person you are? You usually like to act mysterious and play tricks on me. When have you ever told me your true feelings? Do you think I'm a child that you can fool? Tai Tianli said with disdain. Who are you? Take a piss and look at your reflection. The word treacherous is written on your face. Hearing this, I-Case Hongren's expression changed. She said sternly, Tai Tianli, are you going to protect Dustless? That guy killed your son, the Twilight Man, and Zan Yi. Are you going to let him get away with it? Tell me what you know. Only then will I be able to deal with him and avenge them. Good kill. Wonderful kill. Dustless did not chop the Twilight Man into pieces. That's what I'm most dissatisfied with. Tai Tianli's incomparably valiant reply caused I-Case Hongren to be dumbfounded. Is this old man's brain rusty? Fine. Tell me what's the relationship between Dustless and the first primogenitor. Seeing that Tai Tianli refused to speak, I-Case Hongren could only ask about other things. Well, since you want to hear it, then I'll tell you. I guarantee that you'll regret it for the rest of your life. You'll completely understand how powerful and invincible that guy is. Tai Tianli licked his dry lips and recalled the events of a few years ago. His thoughts were lost in his memories. I remember one time when Dustless told me that he had found an interesting toy and was planning to leave for a while. I didn't stop him, but I asked him what mission he was going to carry out. At the time, he only said that he had obtained information about the first ancestor and was going to hunt him down. Yun Tianli was full of admiration. In the entire world, only Dustless dared to say that he would kill the first primogenitor. Regardless of how impressed Ran Tianli was, IK's Red Lotus jaw dropped. Are you trying to say that the toy Dustless found is the first primogenitor? Bullshit. IK's Hanren completely abandoned her gentlemanly elegance as she rudely interrupted the crazy Tai Tianli. Old man, do you believe the words of that fellow? The way I see it, he's just bragging. He's just trying to invite us for battle merits. Idiot, I've worked with Dustless for a few years. I know him better than you. That guy might really lie to others, but he would never lie to us. There's no need for that at all. Inviting us for battle merits is even more nonsense. If he wants to, he can kill me and take the position of marshal anytime. IK's Hanren was speechless after hearing Tai Tianli's words. Dustless was indeed not interested in the world. He was only interested in those powerhouses. So what? If I meet him in the future, I'll tear him apart and avenge Midnight. IK's Hanren was silent for a moment before she felt relieved. She glanced at Tai Tianli and suddenly felt extremely annoyed. Slash. With a slash, the sharp blade cut off Tai Tianli's throat and ended his life. His head was even chopped off, turning him into a headless corpse. How did he find the first primogenitor? It shouldn't be. IK's Hanren was filled with doubts that no one could answer. Perhaps only Dustless himself could answer her questions. The first primogenitor was a mysterious and unfathomable figure. He was a legendary existence. It was too surreal to think that he could be killed just like that. In fact, the first primogenitor of the vampires was indeed killed by Dustless a few years ago. As for how he found him, it was actually very simple. When the first primogenitor disappeared, he brought along a Shiritsupizi, who was also known as Agilamru. Dustless used him as a breakthrough point and used his Rinnegan to search Agilamru's memories. He found some traces of the first primogenitor. After that, he created a large army of white Zetsu to search for his whereabouts. After a period of hard work, he finally found the first primogenitor. He met the leader of the vampires. As the first primogenitor, he was definitely the strongest person in the world. Dustless naturally would not let him go. After a great battle, he crushed him and finally killed the first primogenitor. Almost no one knew about this. Dustless only told Tai Tianli about it. Hold it right there. After killing Saito, Dustless hurried back. There was about a day's difference in time. However, as soon as he arrived at the camp, a group of King Ghost Army soldiers surrounded Dustless with swords. Are you all blind? Dustless asked unkindly. He was the only general in the King Ghost Army. He was considered a household name. Were these idiots deliberately looking for trouble? The criminal Dustless killed Marshal Tai Tianli. You are now wanted. The soldiers surrounding Dustless were alert. Their eyes were shining. Killing Dustless promoted him by 3 ranks. I killed Tai Tianli. That's a good reason. Dustless was puzzled. He did not like the old man, but it was not necessary to kill him. There was no doubt that someone had framed him. Dustless could only think of one person who could do this, IK's Hanren. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:11. I didn't teach that brat a lesson, but he took the initiative to frame me. He used such a despicable trick right from the start. Sure enough, that brat isn't a good person. Dustless directly ignored everyone as he muttered to himself. All this time, he didn't have a good impression of IK's Red Lotus, not even a little. She kept saying that her companions were her family, but in the end, it was the complete opposite. Her so-called family was just a pawn used by IK's Red Lotus. Take Tsukasa Jun for example. IK's Red Lotus clearly knew that his sister was used as a human experiment by the Twilight people and was subjected to all kinds of cruel torture. Yet, she chose to keep her mouth shut and hide it from Tsukasa Jun. Was this how she treated her so-called family? It was worth mentioning that IK's Red Lotus did not help Tsukasa Jun in the end. Instead, she colluded with the Twilight people and conducted the Blazing Angel experiment together. Furthermore, the experimental subject was Tsukasa Jun's sister. It was truly lamentable. Thus, Dustless had always thought that IK's Red Lotus was a treacherous person who hid a knife behind a smile. Her so-called family was just a tool used for experiments. Tsukasa Jun's sister and Hayakuya Yuichiro were examples. Attack together and destroy this bastard. He dares to ignore us. Seeing Dustless in a daze, the Ghost King's soldiers surrounding him were enraged. They pulled out their swords and slashed at him. Every one of them had a greedy look on their faces. There was nothing they could do about it. Killing Dustless and getting promoted 3 times was too tempting. Some people spent their entire lives at the bottom. Getting promoted 3 times was like a pie falling from the sky. This condition was really generous. Many people had the idea of killing Wu Qin for promotion, so much so that they even ignored his shocking strength. As the saying goes, people die for wealth and birds die for food. When the reward reached a certain level, even if they knew that there was only a dead end ahead, the people who stepped on the mine would never stop. Yasukani no Magatama. Dustless would definitely not show mercy to this group of people who were seeking death. With a flick of his finger, light bullets shot out like raindrops. Puchi! 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 The light bullets easily pierced through the bodies of several people. They specifically targeted their vitals. Their hearts, heads, charred holes appeared. One could even smell the stench of rotten flesh. Reckless fool. Dustless only snorted coldly. He didn't even look at the corpses of these people. They were courting death, so why should he show mercy? Being able to leave a complete corpse was considered a VIP treatment. I hope those 2 little girls will be fine. Dustless lowered his head and muttered to himself. The 2 little girls he was talking about were naturally Xiaoya and Sangong Sanyi. In the past, Dustless was still the only general of the King Ghost Army. Naturally, IK's Hanren was afraid of Dustless. However, things were different now. Dustless had most likely killed Tong Tianli and became the new general of the King Ghost Army. In a way, Dustless's killing of the Twilight Immortal could be said to have helped Heine's Red Lotus. If the Twilight Immortal had been in the way, he would not have been able to gain control of the King Ghost Army so easily. On the ground that was full of ruins, Dustless walked forward alone. Before the destruction of the world, this place used to be a glorious metropolis, but now it's just rubble and broken tiles. All of this was thanks to IK's Hanren. It was because of her that the world was destroyed. This is bad. When he came to the place where the King Ghost Army was stationed, Dustless looked around. The King Ghost Army, which had been in groups before, had disappeared, leaving behind a large number of vampires and King Ghost Army corpses. It can be seen that there was a big battle here before. It was most likely the battle between the vampires led by Fried and IK's Hanren. It is estimated that there was no winner between the 2 sides, and even the vampires suffered a big defeat because there were more vampires' corpses on the ground. I hope they have good fortune. Dustless muttered, and his observation hockey spread out and found that within a radius of tens of kilometers, there was no one. There were only 2 possibilities for Xiaoya and Sangong Senyi: either they were captured by the King Ghost Army or they escaped. If they were captured by the King Ghost Army, they would be doomed, because IK's Hanren has always been ruthless. Since she dared to kill Tong Tianli, why not kill Xiaoya? She was simply using her relationship, not to mention that Xiaoya was a member of the Tong family. It seems that I have to let that little girl unify the vampires as soon as possible, and destroy that group of humans as soon as possible. Dustless's eyes flashed coldly. He will not sympathize with humans or vampires. Whoever goes against him is an enemy, that's all. Inside the resplendent palace, Calulus sat on the throne with bright eyes. He had regained his cold and arrogant demeanor, keeping everyone at a distance. Yo yo yo. How long has it been? Queen has come out of Sato's shadow. It's not easy to come by. A sudden voice was full of ridicule. You've grown up, Clolu. Who is it? How dare you? The vampire guards around were furious. How dare you despise their queen like this? You deserve to die. Get out of here, all of you. Unexpectedly, Clolu was not angry. Instead, he said sternly, disappear from my sight in 3 seconds, or your brains will explode. Gulp. These cold-blooded words scared all the vampires out of their wits. They looked at each other and hurriedly fled in all directions. How can you treat your subordinates so cruelly? Aren't you afraid that they will be disappointed? After all, it's for your own safety. Countless divine lights flashed around Clolu, like thousands of fireflies dancing. In the blink of an eye, Dustless's thin body appeared out of nowhere. What kind of ability is this? Clolu sighed inwardly. He could only blame himself for being short-sighted and ignorant. Dustless appeared so mysteriously every time, and he did not notice it at all. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:12. This is the devil fruit, the elemental transformation of a Logia user. Noticing Clolu's confusion and astonishment, Dustless slowly explained, elemental transformation is a very unique ability. It allows one to be immune to most physical attacks, immune to physical attacks. Cruella took a deep breath. Although she did not know what a devil fruit was, the ability to be immune to physical attacks was already invincible. Human. The escaping vampire guards turned around and saw Dustless. They shouted angrily, "Stay away from the queen if you don't want to die, or else, get out of here, you bunch of trash." The impatient Clolu angrily rebuked. This time, she seemed to be really angry. Her shout carried an invisible impact, and the group of vampires were all blasted away. A bunch of idiots. Why can't you see it? This guy dares to appear in my palace alone. His strength must be unfathomable. Why can't you see it? Cruella shook her head and sighed. Some people were cannon fodder. Not only were they weak, but they also had bad eyesight. How's the information gathering going? Dustless fiddled with Clolu's beautiful hair in boredom and said expectantly, the other ancestors of the vampires have also rushed here, right? Yes. Cruella nodded and reported truthfully, most of the noble vampires are here because Master Dustless killed the former second ancestor, Saito. Of course, they also want to capture me, the traitor queen. Cruella's voice was filled with confusion. Almost no one knew about the relationship between her and Dustless. Saito knew a little about it, but he was killed by Dustless. However, their secret was exposed in the end. That's good. It saves me a lot of trouble. Dustless stretched his body and said with an expectant smile, I heard that the other second patriarch, Old Giles, and the third patriarch, Lester Ka, are also here. The other high-grade patriarchs are also here. I can't wait to see the upcoming massacre. Compared to the interested Dustless, Clolu was much more serious. His small face was filled with caution. Lord Dushless, aren't you overestimating yourself by facing a dozen ancestral nobles at once? Crew frowned as he looked at Dushless. This was the first time he doubted Dushless' abilities. It was no wonder that Clola lacked confidence. Facing multiple primogenitors, including the second primogenitor, Old Giles, and the third primogenitor, Lester Khan, was indeed troublesome for her. Hee hee. Are you scared? I have a perfect plan to ensure my survival. Dustless looked down at Clola with a faint smile. I'll hand you over to those monsters and tell them that you're the culprit. After that, I'll suck up to them. How about that? Lord Dustless is still joking at this time. Clolo rolled his eyes. Dustless was also speechless. A large number of vampire nobles were about to arrive, and this guy still had the time to tease him. Did he really think that he was the number one in the world and was invincible? Clolo, your horizons are too narrow. A stone suddenly appeared on his fingertip. Then, he exerted some force, and the stone instantly cracked. Dustless then explained, those nobles are like this stone. They were lucky that no one could crush them before, but now that they've met me, bang. The hard stone turned into powder in the blink of an eye. Dustless's body was filled with an astonishing ferocious aura. They've met me. They're destined to be crushed to death. Kralik, what happened to the two little girls? You didn't drink their blood, did you? We have to ensure their safety. After all, they are our trump card to negotiate with Dustless. Freed and Kralik, who had been missing for a long time, were drinking in a luxurious villa. They looked at the crimson rising sun in the distance. Are you talking about the little girls called Xiaoya and 3 palaces and 3 leaves? Kralik swirled the red liquid in his glass and drank it in one gulp. Dustless does value the 2 of them, but he won't accept our conditions for the sake of these 2 little girls. After the battle between the vampires and the Emperor Ghost Army, 3 palaces, 3 leaves, and Xiaoya didn't escape. Instead, they were secretly captured by Freed. Of course I know. Freed held his chin with his hand and said seriously, human nature is a strange thing. A man like Dustless does things very strangely. He might do something shocking. Just like the cooperation before, you didn't expect that guy to really help us kill Saito. Besides, some things aren't as simple as you think. Dustless watched Xiaoya grow up, and they have a good relationship. She's the only trump card we can use to restrain Dustless. Sigh. Kralik sighed helplessly. Are you sure? Fried Kuan. Against someone like Dustless, we won't be able to kill him even if we have 100 lives. But we don't have a choice. That guy abandoned us and chose to let Crowley unify all the vampires. I can't accept that. Freed revealed a rare ferocious expression. Are you willing to obey Crowley's orders? That queen is very prejudiced against us. Kralik, you might not know, right? Now, Dustless and Krolitsapizi are fat meat. Dustless killed Saito, and Krolu, the 3rd primogenitor, betrayed the vampires. This matter has caused a stir in the world. Freed then revealed a treacherous smile and couldn't help but proudly say, let me tell you. I'm the one who secretly sent someone to inform the upper primogenitors that Dustless secretly killed Saito, and that Krolu had joined Dustless and betrayed the vampires. Then I'll go crazy with you this time. If there really is a god in this world, I hope it will bless us and help us defeat the evil Satan. Kralik finally decided to go all the way with Freed. There were some things that he had no choice in. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:13. Time always passed by unknowingly. By the time they realized it, 3 days had already passed. Boom boom boom. On a certain morning, a loud sound suddenly came from Klola's vampire city. Following that, the ground cracked open as if it had been hit by a meteor. A huge scorched pit dozens of meters deep appeared on the ground. Clolu, and that human called Dustless, get the hell out here. An arrogant and unbridled voice filled the decaying city, waking up Dustless and Clolu from their sleep. Asking me to get the hell out here so early in the morning, who has such a bad temper? Dustless crawled out from his bed and lazily stretched his waist. Beside him, there was a haggard-looking girl wearing pink pajamas. This young and tender child was actually Clolu. Glancing back, Dustless saw that Clolu was also slowly opening her eyes. He couldn't help but look at her with disdain. You are still the third ancestor of the vampires. Do you have to be so afraid of death? Because Dustless had too many enemies, it caused Clolu to be filled with worry and couldn't sleep well. Hence, no matter what, he had to sleep with Dustless to feel safe. It was understandable that she would think this way. Clolu was the third ancestor, and there were still people who could kill her instantly. For example, Bird Giles, who was also the second ancestor like Saitu. She might be assassinated at any time. That's because you provoked the strongest people in the world. I don't want to die with you, Clolu said matter-of-factly. At the same time, she was very familiar with that arrogant voice. It's that guy Luster Kaw. The third ancestor. Dustless understood this kid. He was a child like Clolu. Go and deal with him. I heard that the grudge between the two of you isn't small. That's what I was planning to do. A cold light flashed in Clolu's beautiful eyes. She and Luster Kaw were not on good terms. The two of them had fought many times, both openly and covertly. Their grudges were not shallow. After Dustless's training, Clolu's strength had improved greatly. It was more than enough to deal with Luster Kaw. Swish. 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 After putting on his clothes, Clolu galloped away and disappeared in a few seconds. It's hard to even get a good night's sleep. The flies come in waves. Dustless lay on the soft mattress and stared at the ceiling. That guy is your bait, isn't it? A barb to lure Clolu. You actually found out. After a while, a thin man walked out of the darkness. This person had sharp elf-like ears and handsome facial features. His face was always expressionless, giving people the first impression of indifference. You must be the second primogenitor, Bird Giles. Knowing that the other party was the second primogenitor, Dustless could not help but take a second look at him. Am I blind? I really don't see anything special about you. You're not even as good as that Saito. Too arrogant, full of flaws. In this short moment, a ferocious-looking vampire appeared above Dustless's head. He bared his sharp fangs and was about to bite through Dustless's head. The strongest human, your blood must be delicious. Dustless had been given many nicknames since a long time ago. The strongest human was just one of them. Ken Susanu. A golden light flashed on the surface of Wu Chen's body. It quickly shrank and took shape. It covered his whole body and condensed into a fist. He waved his hand and punched fiercely. Bang! The vampire that wanted to ambush Dustless was instantly shattered by the punch. His body exploded, leaving not even a complete skeleton behind. He turned into a bloody mist on the ground. So strong. The second primogenitor, Bird Giles, frowned. The vampire that ambushed Dustless was an ordinary noble, but he was still a famous figure. Dustless killed a primogenitor with a wave of his hand. Wasn't he a little too strong? Sword, drink my blood. A large number of spikes protruded from Bird Giles' sword and pierced through his palm. The originally pale blade seemed to have devoured his blood and turned crimson. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. As expected of the second primogenitor, Old Giles sent out a destructive swordlight with each swing of his blade. Dustless didn't even look at the incoming attack. He controlled Ken Susanu with his mind and formed a fist again. He punched the incoming beam of sword light. Old Giles snorted and said somewhat angrily, "How can my attack be compared to that trash? It's not something you can." Bang! Before old Giles could finish his words, his attack was shattered by Kensusanu's punch. The beam of sword light raged and turned into small fragments that spread wildly. Countless holes were created in the walls of the palace. There's no reason for the gap to be so big. There must be something wrong. Old Giles was shocked. His cheeks were twitching, and his mouth was so wide open that a fist could fit in it. You used this move to defeat him. Old Giles had an ugly expression on his face. He finally understood why Saito had lost. Saito's strength was completely overwhelming. It's a little more complicated to deal with him. It's easier to deal with you, Dustless said honestly. His words angered old Giles. Wasn't Dustless mocking him for being inferior to Saito? Open your eyes wide and watch. Old Giles seemed to be truly enraged. He raised his saber again and slashed down with a slash that was even more ferocious than the previous one. That's the only move I've come up with. How boring. Dustless was dispirited when he saw this. He blinked his Sharingan again and Kensusanu's form changed again. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:14. Kensusanu was extremely powerful. Every form of Kensusanu was extraordinarily powerful. From the simplest form of Kensusanu to the final form of Kensusanu, every form was powerful enough to annihilate old Giles. This thing can even grow bigger. Old Giles was completely dumbfounded as he stared at the enlarged Kensusanu. He stared blankly at the giant monster in front of him. All the strength in his body was drained away, and a deep sense of powerlessness spread throughout his body. Dustless's body was shrouded in a golden materialized light. This mysterious energy was controlled by some kind of will, and it eventually turned into a mighty giant. It looked like an invincible god of war. It had a Tengu helmet on its head and a thick armor on its body. Its huge eyes looked down at old Giles, and old Giles could not help but take a few steps back. What is this? Dustless did not mind at all. He said calmly, the Kensusanu you see now is just the pure mature form. If you see the complete form, then maybe you will have a different expression. Compared to the complete form of Kensusanu, the mature Kensusanu before old Giles was insignificant. Damn freak. Old Giles' face twitched violently upon hearing that. Judging from what Dustless said, the mature Kensusanu in front of him did not seem to be the limit. Boom! 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 All of old Giles' slashes landed on the mature Kensusanu's shell, but it was useless. It was like rain falling on a rock. There were a lot of them, but they were all useless. The dazzling sword light could not break through the Kensusanu's defense. In the end, it scattered and disappeared without a trace. You are very lucky to be able to die under Kensusanu, Dustless said slowly. Even your primogenitor did not receive such a great treatment. Old Giles' head almost exploded when he heard that. He asked in shock, why you killed our first primogenitor? Why are you so surprised? It's not like it was that difficult. Dustless's expression did not change. He was as calm as still water, and there was no trace of old Giles' exaggerated expression. He had killed countless powerful beings, and the first primogenitor was just one of them. Then, you can die now. The scarlet Sharingan blinked, and a visible ripple appeared in its eye socket. Under Dustless's control, Kensusanu immediately picked up the Tachi in his hand. You want to kill me? Not. Old Giles wasn't an idiot. He immediately berated the other vampire nobles, you guys stay here and stall him. I'll go look for reinforcements. Bullshit. Do you think we are idiots? Reinforcements are bullsh asterisk t. You can you? In the face Giles's cans, in the face cans was cans, to cans. 2. Ins whoosh whoosh whoosh. Old Giles did not care about what others thought. He ran with all his might, turning into a blur and disappearing in the blink of an eye. Both the first primogenitor and the second primogenitor, Saito, were dead. It was not a bad thing. Old Giles suddenly realized that his opportunity had come. Why did he have to fight Dustless to the death? It was completely unnecessary. Even an ant would drag out its life. This sentence was applicable to all living creatures. Let's run. The other vampire nobles were not fools either. Since old Giles had run away, they would definitely die if they stayed here. They looked at each other and ran away at the same time. You want to run? Do you think I'm air? Dustless sneered. His body suddenly surged with a large amount of light and turned into a beam of light that shot into the sky. When he was about 50 meters above the ground, the vast land was in his eyes. Dustless controlled Kansusanu to cross his hands, and a destructive flash appeared. Kansusanu, Yasukani no Magatama. In an instant, it was as if a golden meteor shower was falling from the sky. Tens of thousands of destructive lights swooped down, wave after wave. Whether in terms of power or size, they were much stronger than the Yasukani no Magatama. Moreover, the area they covered was much wider. Within a radius of a few kilometers, everything was shrouded in the destructive light. Pft. 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 The ground was mercilessly penetrated, and there were potholes everywhere. The surrounding area was like the surface of the moon, which had been inhumanely attacked and was scorched black. Ah! Who on earth created such an evil trick? Is it the devil? A large number of vampires screamed in pain. Due to the combination of Kansusanu and the Yasukani no Magatama, its power had been enhanced by the dimensional nature. Once hit, a head-sized hole would appear on their body. It was a horrible sight. The vampires that old Giles had brought with him were almost completely wiped out. They were all killed in one clean move. Fortunately, I ran fast enough. Old Giles was hiding under a pile of ruins. When he saw the scene outside, his body trembled. If he had been one step slower, he would have been smashed into pieces. Damn that Freed. How dare he trick me? He didn't tell me that Dustless's strength was so terrifying. Old Giles cursed loudly. He wished he could cut Freed into pieces. It was because this guy told him that Dustless had killed Saito and overturned the rule of the vampires in Japan that old Giles came looking for trouble. Oh. So it's that brat Freed. I knew he wasn't that obedient. Sure enough, the tiger that hides in the dark is the most dangerous. You never know when it will take a bite. A cold voice came out of nowhere. Old Giles was shocked. He looked up. Who else could it be other than Dustless, the Jinx? P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:15. When did you appear? I didn't even realize it. Have I become so slow? Bored Giles clenched his fists, his face turning pale. He knew that he was now a complete stranger. Answer me a few questions before you die. Dustless didn't care if Bored Giles agreed or not. He asked directly, Freed told you about my secret contact with Kruru, didn't he? Humph, that bastard. It would have been better if Freed had not been mentioned. However, the moment Freed was mentioned, old Giles flew into a rage. That bastard dared to scheme against me. He sent someone to inform me that your strength is on par with mine. that's because you're too naive. How could you believe the words of a fox like him? Dustless shook his head. You must think that Freed wouldn't dare to lie to you because you're the second primogenitor. Am I right? Lord Giles didn't say a word. He did think so back then, but he ended up suffering a great loss. Do it. Lord Giles didn't want to waste his breath. He had nothing to say now. He had lost, and he had lost everything. Do you have any last words? Dustless showed a rare kindness to Lord Giles when he saw the desolate look on Lord Giles' face. He could understand the feeling of being deceived by a nobody. Lord Giles probably wanted nothing more than to tear Freed into pieces. Last words. Lord Giles opened his eyes abruptly, shooting out a cold glint. You want me to let you go? Impossible. You must die, Dustless said bluntly. Come to think of it, I've lived for thousands of years. What haven't I seen? To be honest, sometimes I feel like I'm tired of living. Lord Giles' voice was hoarse and weathered. The light in his eyes became empty. He suddenly felt like he had seen through the world of mortals. I only have one wish. I can't stand being deceived by a piece of trash. If you can, I hope you can torture Freed. That damned bastard. Lord Giles roared with hatred. The second primogenitor was tricked to death by the seventh primogenitor. It was a great humiliation to him. He would be laughed at even if he died. As you wish. Dustless nodded in agreement. Shortly after, a light flashed in his hand as he used the Ajuro pill to crush old Kyles. He left this world with no regrets. You want me to torture that brat? Actually, even if you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have let that kid off so easily. However, I don't seem to be very good at torturing people. Other than Tsukumi, there doesn't seem to be anything else. It's better to leave it to someone else. Dustless's lips curled into a faint smile. Abuse? It just so happened that there was a master in this field who could be of service. On the other side, Kloluv and the third ancestor, Rester Ka, were engaged in a fierce battle. Because Dustless had trained him, Kloluv's strength surpassed Rester Ka's, but it was still difficult for him to kill him. After all, Lester Ka was the third primogenitor, and his strength wasn't bad. Madhav *Ker, what the hell? For the first time in his life, Lester Ka cursed. Looking at him, his clothes were tattered like a beggar, and his face, which could be considered cute, was covered with dust and dirt. Why is the difference in strength so big? Am I a fake third primogenitor? Lester Ka grumbled to himself. He originally wanted to have a big battle with Klolu. The two of them had a lot of conflicts, and it was only a matter of time before they had to settle their grudges. Today was the best time. However, the result was a tragedy. Klolu seemed to have taken some kind of drug and beat Lester Ka up. There were a few times when Lester Ka would have been killed by Klolu if he didn't react quickly enough. Klolu, you still haven't finished here. A lazy voice came from afar. Klolu's beautiful eyes flashed, and after seeing who it was, he respectfully said, "This guy isn't bad, but give me 10 more minutes. I'm sure I can kill him. Kill me in 10 minutes. Lester Ka's small face was red with anger. He said angrily, "You think I'm a trash like Freed? You think you can kill me in a few minutes? Dream on. 10 minutes is indeed too long. I don't have that much time, so I'll kill you in a second." A ghostly voice suddenly came from behind. Lester Ka's body turned cold. The moment he turned his head, a cold light fell from above. Poochie. Lester Ka didn't even have time to react before his body was split in half by Dustless. This guy is my prey. After being stunned for a few seconds, Klolu said with dissatisfaction. There was no exception. Dustless could even crush the second primogenitor, let alone the third primogenitor. We still have other things to do. Let's go take care of Ace Honren and the others. Without waiting for Clola's reaction, Dustless left first. What about Freed and Corey? Clolo asked with a frown. Hearing this, Dustless smiled mysteriously. Don't worry about them. A cruel queen will take care of them for me. Let's pray for Freed and Corey. Strange, why is my eyelid twitching recently? In a luxurious villa, Freed, who was drinking, suddenly muttered to himself. He had a feeling that something bad was about to happen. Is this the place? That guy Wuchen called me to this world just to do this kind of thing. That despicable guy, I thought he was the one who brought me out for a date. On a pile of rubble, a seductive figure stood. Her figure was extremely hot, her lips were red, and her teeth were white. Her fair oval face was flawless. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:16. However, the guy Dustless still knows my hobby, which means that the kid still remembers me. The beautiful woman licked her lips, showing a horrible bloodthirsty smile, which instantly made her lose her beauty, as if she was incarnated into a female Shura who had killed countless people, which made people unable to help but feel creepy. It was worth mentioning that this coquettish woman with long blue hair had killed countless people. She was the sadist general who had a hobby of torturing others, is death. Dustless wanted to torture Freed, not only for old Giles, but also for himself, but his ability to torture people was so he thought of Esteth. In the past, Esteth had been staying in the system space and was quite bored. This time she was released by Dustless. She calmly looked at the world that she had never seen before, and her beautiful big eyes were full of curiosity. Forget it, let's finish the task given by Dustless first, and then go on a date with him. It's better to have some beautiful things happen in the middle, such as giving birth to children and so on. Estetha's eyes were restored to coldness, looking at the villa in the distance, and suddenly snapped her fingers. Dare to provoke my man, you have a lot of courage. Snap! With a snap of his fingers, a terrifying ice ball suddenly condensed in the void and smashed down like a meteorite. Even the sky was covered by it. The surrounding vampires who saw it fled in panic. Because of the teaching of Dustless, Estetha's strength became extremely powerful, and she also ate the ice-cold fruit that belonged to Akiji in one piece. In addition, she was a fighting genius, so it was conceivable how strong she was. Who did this? The scene suddenly became chaotic, and Freed naturally noticed it. He hurriedly ran out of the villa, looking up at the huge ice ball that slowly fell from the sky, and his heart was full of despair. Gulp! Without exception, Crowley was also amazed. The huge meteorite ice was like the punishment of God, and its huge volume covered a radius of hundreds of meters. What are you doing? What are you looking at? Run for your life. Realizing that Corey was staring at him in a daze, Freed kicked him in annoyance. Soon after, the two of them hurriedly fled for their lives, their speed as fast as lightning. At the same time, Esteth, who was watching silently, also found Crowley and Freed. The speed of their escape was much faster than that of other vampires, which also indirectly showed that the strength of these two was better. They were probably the leaders of this group of vampires. Still want to run? Esteth smiled and chased after him like a gust of wind. Huff huff huff, after running for several kilometers, Freed and Crowley lay on the ground, gasping for air. The two of them were so tired that their backs were drenched in sweat and their legs were sore from running. That was definitely not a natural phenomenon, it was definitely man-made, Crowley said with extreme certainty. Of course I know. Freed nodded in agreement. With an ugly expression, he said, it must be him. He actually destroyed our base. Hearing this, Crowley's heart sank. He naturally knew who he was talking about, Dustless. Recalling that his lair had been destroyed, Fried became furious and said angrily, "Dushless, that damned bastard. In the future, I will definitely, puff." Before Fried's voice fell, a black shadow fell from the sky and stepped on his head with a big foot. The heel of the high-heeled shoe was also stuffed into his mouth, piercing his throat directly, and blood spurted out. "It's just a bat, a beast. Do you think you can call me dushless? Trash." There was no doubt that this godlike figure that fell from the sky was Esteth. She suppressed Fried with overwhelming strength in an instant, and there was no room for him to fight back. "Who are you?" Crowley on the side was also shocked. He pulled out his sword and stared at Esteth. It was too strange. He didn't even have time to react. Fried was killed in seconds. When he realized it, Esteth's heel had stepped on Fried's throat, and he screamed in pain. "You are not qualified to ask who I am, and you are not qualified." Esteth smiled disdainfully. Her white face flashed a cold light. Her body was like lightning again and evaporated from Crowley's eyes. "Where is she?" Crowley was dumbfounded. What kind of freak was this? How could a human speed be so fast? Even the second ancestor, Saitu, couldn't do it. "Idiot, behind you." Fried, whose mouth was full of blood, reminded loudly, but it was too late. Esteth's speed was too fast. Poochie. The ice sword pierced Crowley's chest and penetrated him from the front to the back. The blood flowed down from the wound. "Sure enough, as Dustless said, you are still alive after being injured like this. Are you a vampire? Interesting creature." Esteth's beautiful eyes blinked. She saw Fried standing up tremblingly. It could be seen that he was fine, and so was Crowley. Corey and Fried exchanged glances. Both of them could see the anger in each other's eyes. Out of nowhere, a mysterious character had suddenly appeared, grabbed the two of them, and violently beat them up. Was there a mistake? "I know what you want to say." "Don't say it, I am not interested in listening." Esteth's eyes were filled with a raging red luster. She smiled bloodthirstily. "You didn't offend me, just because you offended Dustless. So, you too must die and slowly be trampled by me." It turned out to be Dustless's little brother. Crowley was relieved. No wonder Esteth wanted to kill him and Fried. He immediately said depressingly, "However, why are the people around him such monsters? They are countless times more terrifying than those high-level ancestors." P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Don't worry, Dustless told me that the only way to kill a vampire is to use the ghost curse equipment. Unfortunately, I don't have it, so I'm destined not to be able to kill you too. Esteth's pretty face was calm, and finally she suddenly laughed again. "However, that guy also said that it would be more interesting to take away your vampire's heart and let you lose too much blood." Gulp. Hearing Esteth's words, both Fried and Crowley felt a chill down their spines. This woman was simply a pervert. Vampires would mutate if they lost too much blood. It was better to kill them directly than to degenerate into ghosts. Let the show begin. Esteth didn't care what the two of them thought. Now she just wanted to enjoy herself. The enemy's howling was the most beautiful music for her. In Osaka City, the rest of the Emperor Ghost Army gathered here. The current marshal of the Emperor Ghost Army was Ikane Sakemi. This kid's promotion speed was definitely the fastest. Previously, he was still a lieutenant colonel. Now, he had become a marshal. How many levels did he jump at once? "Akemi, hurry up and fight with Dustless, that bastard." In the war conference room, Haikuya Yuichiro couldn't wait to say, "That guy killed Michael, I will make him regret living in this world." "You idiot." Unexpectedly, Ikane Sakemi just scolded and sprayed her saliva on Hyakkuya Yuichiro's face. Who is dustless? The strongest man in the world, Wu-Yi. How can we fight with him? Unless that kid comes to us personally, I will never take the initiative to attack. Ikane Sakemi stubbornly said. Hearing that Dustless killed the first ancestor, her fear of Dustless became deeper and deeper. So as long as he didn't come to them, Ikane Sakemi decided to continue to be a coward. After all, even the blazing angel of termination was no match for Dustless in the end and was crushed. Truth be told, even in Ikaze Honrin's dreams, she wanted to kill Dustless. However, that was just a dream. In reality, she could only obediently become a stray dog. Don't tell me I don't want to avenge Michael. Hyakkuya Yuichiro looked resentful. His right hand held the ghost curse tachi tightly, and his body was erupting uncontrollably. There will be opportunities. I'm sorry, but not now. We need to accumulate strength. When we have enough strength in the future, we will destroy the great demon king. Ikane Sakemi patted Hyakkuya Yuichiro's shoulder, a sincere look of consolation on her face. However, in her heart, she disagreed. Brat, if it weren't for the fact that you are valuable to me as an important experimental subject, I wouldn't have taken special care of you. If you want to die, you should die early. If you die, you idiot, just treat it as purifying the air. Ikane Sakemi had a sincere smile on her face. Her heart was calculating. Hyakkuya Yuichiro was an important experimental subject that must not be lost. In the future, when she mass-produced the Seraph of Termination, there would be no need to worry about not being able to destroy Dustless. P.S. 3,000 fresh flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:18. Boom boom boom. A sudden explosion shook the heavens and the earth. Where the Emperor Ghost Army was stationed, a crimson ball of fire burned without restraint. Smoke that was dozens of meters high covered the sky, turning the blue sky black. The surrounding Emperor Ghost Army was burned to ashes. Those who didn't know would think that the end of the world had come. What's the situation? Did someone launch a sneak attack? Akira Haines, who was in the middle of brainwashing Yuichiro, was also shocked. Her heart sank. Such a violent explosion might even flatten the city walls that were used to fend off the vampires. Buzz buzz buzz. At the same time, the rumbling sound of machines came from the void, as if demons had descended. It lingered in the air for a long time, and as time passed, the sound became louder and more frequent. This is bad. The faces of the King Ghost Army, who had been fighting vampires all year round, changed. They hurriedly dropped what they were doing and gathered their ghost curse weapons. The veterans all knew that the vampires had launched a large-scale attack. The buzzing sound came from the helicopter propellers. Damn it, who could be so generous? Ikaze Honglian leaned against the window and stared at the densely packed number of helicopters in the distance. Her heart was at its limit. She was 100% certain that this was the final battle between the vampires and the vampires. There were at least several hundred helicopters gathered here. Ever since Dustless had destroyed most of the primogenitors, all the resources had fallen into Kalula's hands. She was able to mobilize more troops and resources. After all, she was the only primogenitor left. You don't regret it? In one of the most luxurious helicopters, Dustless stood in front of the window, looking down at the Emperor Ghost Army that had been attacked by the flames of war on the ground. His eyes were cold. Krolu stood beside him. She was the one who asked the question. Regret? Dustless murmured thoughtfully. Then, he asked slowly, you think that since I'm also a human, if I kill all the Emperor Ghost Army, the human race will also perish? Not bad. Krola nodded. At that time, you might become the last human in this world. Wouldn't that be very lonely? So what? Dustless's reply was quick and decisive. His eyes were glittering, as if he did not want to die. His tone suddenly became weathered. What does the life and death of the people have to do with me? All I did was destroy the Supreme Ghost Army. If the human race perishes, I won't meddle in other people's business. I'm not a racist. Of course I know you're not a racist. Otherwise, we vampires would have been done for. Crew had no doubts about Dustless's strength. He alone was enough to destroy all the vampires. Let's go down and take a look. Dustless directly smashed the glass with his fist and jumped down from a height of over 100 meters, followed by Krolu. Kill all humans. Destroy the vampires. The two completely different races were at each other's throats. Neither side would let the other go. No matter which side lost, the final outcome would be a massacre. Poochie. 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 As time passed, more and more vampires were turned into ashes. The winning side gradually became clear. The scales of victory were tilted toward the humans. Most of the humans were encouraged and focused on the battle, hoping to lead to the day of light as soon as possible. Of course, there were some people who saw something unusual. How strange. Why did the vampire nobles all disappear? Jun Yuefang and Zhao Yinu frowned. They had been lucky enough to fight against the nobles. They knew very well that the vampires' top forces had not appeared. So far, the ones that appeared were just small fries. The reason is simple. It's because the nobles are all dead. Behind the two's backs, there was a movement without any warning. Moon Jun Shifang and Zhao Yinu were both greatly shocked. Their current strength could be considered to have made some small achievements. Just who was it that could appear so silently? So it's you. Turning their heads, the two immediately saw Dustless and Crew. Yo, the two of you, how have you been? Dustless smiled and raised his hand to greet them. Those who did not know might really think that they were friends meeting. I can't wait to eat your flesh and drink your blood. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn red. Jun Yuefang gritted his teeth and stared at Dustless. His hands that were holding onto his blade were trembling. Kid, you still haven't realized. Dustless sighed and said with pity, the one who used you as Ise's Korim. Your sister is still being locked up by him for all kinds of crazy human experiments. Don't try to drive a wedge between us. Do you think I'm an idiot? No, let's go together and destroy this guy. Jun Yuefang obviously did not want to listen to Dustless's nonsense. He held onto his blade and rushed forward. Swish swish swish. Zhao Yinu and Nu also pulled their bowstrings. A few powerful arrows pierced through the void and headed straight for Dustless's head. Playing with fire will get you burned. Dustless withdrew the pity on his face. Since they wanted to die, he would fulfill their wish. He immediately formed a hand seal. Fire release, grand fire annihilation. Boom boom boom. A vast sea of fire was blown out from Wu Chen's mouth. The surrounding temperature instantly increased by dozens of times. A large area of crimson flames crushed towards Jun Yuesher's side. The diameter of the flames was at least 20 to 30 meters. Everything was burned into ashes and scattered ashes. All of this happened too suddenly. By the time he realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. Jun Yuefang's entire body was engulfed by the flames. His entire body was set on fire. His entire body was charred black. Chapter 24:19. Jun Yu. Witnessing Moon Lord Jun being burned alive into a dried corpse, Zhao Yinyu and Yi Yi's faces were covered in tears. Their eyes stared blankly at the charred corpse that was burnt beyond recognition. Their eyes were dull, as if their souls had been taken away. Don't be so sad. You can go accompany him soon. Dustless brushed past Zhao Yinyu. This kid had already lost his will to fight. Killing him would be boring. Kolulu, I'll leave this kid to you. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Kolulu rushed out at full speed and disappeared in an instant. Caw caw caw. His slender white hand wrapped around Zhao Yinyu's neck and suddenly twisted in the opposite direction. With a caw sound, he easily broke Zhao Yinyu's neck and silently ended his life. Seriously, this group of minions also came out to play dumb. Dustless couldn't help but sigh as he lowered his head and stared at Zhao Yinyu's corpse. Play dumb. Hearing this, Kolulu's face was conflicted and he was speechless. So in Dustless's eyes, other people's battles were purely playing dumb. This was too much of a blow to him. What do we do next? Kolulu asked respectfully. In his heart, he had already treated Dustless as a boss and listened to his every word. What do we do? It's very simple. Just kill them all. Dustless answered casually. This simple sentence determined the fate of all the Emperor Ghost Army. Only death awaited them. I understand. Kolulu didn't ask any more questions. When he saw that there were more Emperor Ghost Army, he decisively pounced over. Ah! Aren't you afraid that your bodyguards are gone? We brought our trump card here. You alone might die without a burial ground. This sudden voice was extremely cold and his tone was as cold as ice. At the same time, when he mentioned Dustless, it was filled with deep hatred. Do I still need bodyguards? What a joke. You yourself said that you might kill me. Actually, you don't have the confidence either. Dustless shifted his gaze and observed the figures from the corner of his eyes. He said indifferently, the actors are all here. That's right, we're all here. The show is about to begin. Ines Honglian pulled out the ghost curse equipment in her hand. Beside her was Yuichiro Haikuya and the other containers controlled by the Royal Ghost Army. What a mistake it was to kill Ji Mu. Did you inherit his entire inheritance? Dustless's eyes flashed with a strange light. He couldn't help but take a few more glances at the rotten container. His eyes didn't move, as if there was some kind of treasure inside. His face flashed with a bright light, and then he said, inside that, is the thing with Yuichiro, right? She was Jun Yu Shifang's younger sister, Jun Yu Weilai. Hearing this, Ike's Kuriko's pupils shrank and she said in a gloomy voice, You know more than I expected. You even know about this. You just found out. You were too naive in the past. You thought that you could hide anything from me. Naive. Dustless's gaze swept past the container and Yuichiro Haikuya. He then looked at Ike's Kuriko and said, There are two seraphs of the end. Krolu will only be cannon fodder if he stays here. Kill you. Kill you. Kill you. Yuichiro Haikuya's eyes were scarlet red. His entire body emitted an astonishing amount of killing intent. A bloody mist appeared behind him. He locked his gaze on Dustless, and the killing intent he emitted grew stronger. Is it because of Michael Haikuya? Dustless looked at Yuichiro Haikuya indifferently. That's right. I did kill that kid. His corpse was not even left. He was cut into pieces. Bastard, go to hell. Yuichiro Haikuya rushed over. Even Ike's Kuriko couldn't see his figure clearly. It was obvious that this kid had improved a lot. Of course, it could also be that after seeing Dustless, the strongest enemy in his life, Yuichiro Haikuya's potential erupted. Bastard, you are too impulsive. Seeing this, Ike's Kuriko cursed. She had told Yuichiro Hyakkuya to follow the plan. Who would have thought that Dustless would go berserk? Go! Release the seraph of the end. Helpless, Ike's Kuriko could only give up on the plan and charge at Dustless with her katana. Creak! The container, which was covered with all sorts of talismans, was opened. An ominous aura immediately spread out. The King Ghost Army could not help but tremble. Yuichiro, let's delay Dustless for a while. The seraph still needs time to prepare. In order to fully awaken the seraph of the end, there were still some prerequisites to be made. Unfortunately, Yuichiro Hyakkuya's mind was consumed by hatred. He did not hear Ike's Kuriko's words clearly. Die! A sharp and dangerous cold light came at him. Dustless's head was about to be separated from his body. Even without Aijiramu, Yuichiro Hyakkuya had found a weapon that suited him. Aya. So scary. Seeing this, Dustless's calm face slightly loosened. It was as if he was really afraid and shocked. Only those who truly understood him knew that it was disdain. To deal with you, one hand is enough. Dustless did not waste any time and directly grabbed with his right hand. Pop! The dangerous and fatal katana slashed at Dustless's palm. The sharp blade that could cut through steel was useless. Dustless's palm did not bleed at all. Instead, he clenched his hand into a fist and suddenly grabbed the katana tightly. Let go of me! Yuichiro Hyakkuya shouted angrily. He clenched his left hand into a fist and punched Dustless's cheek. Kid, don't get carried away. Dustless's eyes turned cold. He snorted and increased his strength slightly. The weapon in his hand exploded with a bang. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 rating plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24:20. Gulp. Witnessing Dustless's brutality, Hyakkuya Yuichiro woke up from his rage. His eyes widened as he stared at the broken blade in disbelief. He was in a terrible state. Yuichiro, why are you still in a daze? Hurry up and back off. Haine Sakura hurriedly reminded him. Hyakkuya Yuichiro was her most important trump card. She could not afford to lose him. However, the kid remained unmoved. His ears seemed to be stuffed with donkey hair. He did not hear a thing and continued to stare blankly. Buzz buzz buzz, Dustless's right leg was engulfed by a large amount of golden light. The blinding light made it impossible to open one's eyes. If one looked at it for a second longer, one would be blinded. Lightspeed kick. This time, Wuchen didn't show any mercy. That dazzling light beam shot towards Yuichiro's body. Immediately, a destructive energy fluctuation exploded. Yuichiro's body trembled. Yuichiro's body trembled. Boom boom boom. The destructive shock wave was repelled. Hyakkuya Yuichiro's body exploded. The blazing flames quickly evaporated the moisture in the air. The air suddenly became abnormally dry. Hyakkuya Yuichiro was tormented by the flames. He howled in pain. His body was burned to pieces. Some of his organs had melted and evaporated. His hoarse scream conveyed a message. He regretted challenging Dustless. He regretted living in this world. There was no harm in trying to imagine a person being burned alive to the point that their body peeled off and their skin melted. What kind of painful experience was that? Gulp. Not to mention others, even Haine Sakura, who had seen many things and had a will of steel, felt her legs go soft when she saw such cruel torture. She could not help but take a step back. Haine Sakura's impression of Dustless changed. He was not a human. He was not a vampire. He was an evil pervert. Why are you distancing yourself from me? Dustless did not look at Haikuya Yuichiro. In the end, he was just a chess piece. No matter how strong he was just a chess piece. And chess pieces were destined to be abandoned. Hearing those words, Akane Sakura did not say anything. She could not stop herself from backing away. Every time Dustless took a step forward, she would have to take 5 to 6 steps back before she could feel safe. Looks like he's scared. Dustless smiled and said proudly, "Should I celebrate if I can scare someone like you?" After saying that, Dustless continued to leisurely approach Haine Sakatsuki. Unlike the nervous and frightened Haine Sakatsuki, Dustless appeared to be taking a leisurely stroll. "Don't come any closer." This was the first time in her life that she felt fear towards an enemy. "Honglien, don't be afraid. Leave it to me." Suddenly, an inexplicable voice rang out within her mind. The pleasant tone of the voice was soothing to the ears. It was like a miraculous elixir, brushing away the fear within her heart. "Leave it to me." The mysterious voice spoke up once more and Ike's Honglian's eyes became incomparably vacant. She nodded her head gently like a zombie and her consciousness fell into the bottomless abyss to be replaced by a brand new consciousness. I'm finally out for some fresh air." Ikane Sakatsuki, who was backing away, suddenly stopped. She rested her tachi on her shoulder and took a deep breath of air. Although this rotten air is nauseating, it sure is refreshing. "Is there a switch?" Dustless stopped as well. He noticed that Ikane Sakatsuki's eyes had changed. Previously, they were pure black. Now, they were scarlet like a vampire's eyes. They were filled with all sorts of calamitous omens. "Aren't you going to introduce yourself?" "I am Miyamoto." Dustless's soft words caused Ikane Sakatsuki to frown. No, to be more precise, Miyamoto, who was controlling Ikane Sakatsuki's body, felt his heartstrings twitch. "Let's make a deal." Ikane Sakatsuki, who was controlled by Miyamoto, spoke up. "Let me go, and this world, you are not qualified to make a deal with me." Without giving Miyamoto a chance to talk nonsense, Dustless said bluntly. "There are only 2 ways to deal with my enemies. Either they are chopped into pieces or they disappear without a trace. Little girl, seeing your sincerity, I will be merciful this time and choose a way for Ikane Sakatsuki to die. It's rare to see someone as arrogant as you." Miyamoto was not as angry as he imagined. Instead, he said in a light tone. "You have taken care of my sister for so long. I should at least say thank you before the battle." "You're welcome. It's just a spur-of-the-moment thing. Maybe this is fate," Dustless said. In the end, he shook his head and sighed. "However, I still lost her in the end. I hope his death can find her. Then I won't be polite." The moment his voice fell, Ikane Sakatsuki, who was controlled by Miyamoto, suddenly attacked. Her speed was not ordinary. A cold wind blew quietly, but Miyamoto arrived beside Dustless. His body seemed to be attached to the cold wind. He raised his hand and slashed. Bang! This slash, before it could get close to Dustless, was blocked by a special energy barrier. Miyamoto squinted his beautiful eyes. He saw a substantial force shrouding Dustless, and his whole body was tightly defended. It was like drilling into an iron bucket with no blind spots. There were no loopholes in his body. With your strength, it's impossible to break Kensusunu. You have to be 100 times stronger than you are now to break its invincible defense. Dustless kindly reminded Miyamoto of the strength needed to break Kensusunu, but it sounded more like a blow to others. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 comments plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. The angel incarnation of Jun Yueme gloomily said. A golden horn suddenly appeared at her mouth. Without hesitation, she blew the music of destruction. Woo woo woo, the sound of the horn echoed throughout the world, and the earth shook with a caw-caw-caw sound. The surface of the earth quickly collapsed, and dense cracks gradually appeared. In the blink of an eye, the earth within a radius of a few kilometers was swallowed up. It was as if the end of the world had come. Poochie! 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 A large number of small mountains sprang out from the depths of the ground. Many vampires and the Emperor Ghost Army were pierced by this thing. Their bodies were chewed up and they died without a complete corpse. You're caught in a trap of your own making. Seeing this scene, Dustless didn't have the slightest pity. This thing was originally created by the Emperor Ghost Army. Now it's not wrong to suffer the wrath of an angel. And you too. His eyes moved and fell on Lin Jinzhou, who controlled Ice Korea's consciousness. The Emperor Ghost Army is all dead. You can't control the angel. At that time, you will also be the target of this thing. So what? Lin Jinzhou said indifferently, as long as Korea can survive, it doesn't matter even if the world experiences another destruction. The life and death of the people have nothing to do with me. Bang! At this moment, Jun Yue's body changed again. Her back suddenly exploded. Without warning, a blood-red unknown creature sprang out. Its entire body was stained with blood. Awoo! The hoarse cry of a beast resounded. Looking up, the thing that escaped from Jun Yue's body revealed its true appearance. It had turned into an ugly giant bug. Its hoarse roar was earth-shattering. A large number of mysterious spheres fell from this monster. The moment they fell to the ground, they all shattered with a cracked sound. A dense swarm of bugs occupied the ground. Whether it was the Emperor Ghost Army or the vampires, they were all slaughtered. This is an angel. It's obviously a bug. Looking up at the void, Dustless discovered that this huge bug was several meters tall. Its mouth was full of fangs and its appearance was also extremely ugly. It was the type that one would never forget for the rest of their life. Hee hee, have fun with it. I'll take my leave first. Forgive me for not accompanying you. Lin Jinzhou said and turned to leave. In just a few seconds, his figure had already faded. Did you turn a deaf ear to what I said before? Ice Korea must die, including this so-called angel. No, it would be more appropriate to call it a bug. All of you will die. In front of me, there is no exception. Dustless said coldly. He looked up at the sky and smiled eerily at the so-called angel. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24-22. Get the hell down here. Dustless's eyes were deathly still. His large hand suddenly grabbed at the air, causing the horizon to tremble. 10,000 mammoth heavenly attraction. Boom boom boom. A boundless gravitational force erupted. Dustless's small hands were like the hands of God. No one could escape his judgment. Even the horizon was distorted, and the wind and clouds that gently swept past were pulled over. Under the dumbfounded gazes of countless people, the huge body of the huge bug that stood in the air began to tremble slowly. It even let out a series of bestial cries. Clearly, it could not escape the binding of the gravitational force. Monster, monster. That huge bug is so powerful. That Dustless can actually forcefully pull it over. Those who knew Dustless were shocked. This scene was too shocking. That bug was unable to escape Dustless's judgment even though it was dozens of meters away. That loud bestial cry sounded more like fear in everyone's eyes. It turned out that the so-called angels also had things that they were afraid of. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The ugly bug could not withstand the gravitational force of the 10,000 mammoth heavenly attraction. Finally, its huge body began to fall, rapidly falling towards Dustless's location. Good timing. Seeing this, Dustless grinned. His feet were firmly planted on the ground, and his legs were slightly bent, as if he was preparing to accumulate power. Bang! Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Following the sound of a red lotus, Dustless suddenly disappeared. His body shot straight into the sky like a rocket. The ground where he was previously standing had been completely destroyed, and a deep pit was formed. Lightspeed kick. Just as he was about to come into contact with the huge bug, Dustless raised his large foot and viciously kicked out. His destructive vision pounced on that ugly head. Boom boom boom. The instant the lightspeed kick hit the bug, a destructive shockwave erupted. Half of its head was incinerated, and dark red blood flowed out from it. Aooooo, the huge bug seemed to be truly enraged. It opened its mouth full of fangs and roared at Dustless. Furthermore, a column of something similar to blood spurted out from its throat. The power of an ant. Seeing this, Dustless only laughed in disdain, and the corners of his dry mouth slightly opened. Binding Tao 81, sky shattering. A transparent barrier as thin as a cicada's wings suddenly appeared in front of Dustless. Bang! Without a doubt, the thick beam of light hit the barrier. This barrier that seemed like it could be broken with a single stab was unexpectedly sturdy. It was still standing even after taking a blow from the terminating seraph. This guy actually fought against the seraph of termination. Is this something humans can do? In the distance, Ike Sakatani, who had fled far away, had a look of uncertainty on her face. The seraph of Terminus could easily destroy the world. Chapter 24-23. Am I dreaming? That guy named Dustless is too powerful. He actually beat that monster until it bowed its head and admitted its mistake. Is this really reality? It feels like a hallucination. The state of the seraph of termination attracted the attention of many people. Everyone looked at the giant insect bowing its head and admitting its mistake, shaking its head and bending its legs slightly. Everyone felt that it was unbelievable. They couldn't even deal with the cocoon from this monster's body, but Dustless actually beat it until it bowed its head and admitted its mistake. The gap between people was too big. For a moment, all the vampires and humans were full of admiration for Dustless. Fortunately, I joined Dustless instead of challenging Dustless like that idiot Freed Bartlett. Otherwise, I would have died without a burial place. Awoo! The giant insect continued to wail, his hoarse voice begging for mercy, and his miserable appearance made people want to sympathize with him. But Dustless's heart was like a stone, extremely cold-blooded, and his calm eyes had no color fluctuations. Let alone letting him go, he didn't even have the basic sympathy. You only know fear when I take out my Tensigen. You want me to let you go? Now, it's too late, go repent in the hell. Dustless raised his right hand, and a fierce repulsive wave erupted from his palm. Bang! The powerful repulsive force directly hit the seraph of termination's body. The shell all over his body seemed to be made of plastic. It suddenly collapsed, and countless cracks appeared. Who allowed you to stand in the sky? Get down from here. The chakra in Dustless's body increased again, and a ripple of energy visible to the naked eye came out of his hand and rushed straight to the seraph of termination. Bang bang bang. After being hit by the repulsive force a few times, the hateful fat insect finally couldn't resist anymore, and was blasted from the sky to the ground by Dustless, smashing a deep pit. Tisk, tsk. This is too weak. I only got a little serious and it's already gone. Seeing the end of the battle, the blazing angel wailed on the ground. He tried to stand up a few times, but fell to the ground instead. Dustless also lost interest. His mind waning, he descended from the sky and appeared beside Krolu. Lord Dustless. When he saw Dustless, Kalula hurriedly lowered his head and used honorifics. Why didn't I see you being so obedient before? Dustless rolled his eyes and said indifferently, soon, I will leave this world. What's your choice? Leave. Krolu's heart trembled. She had long heard that Dustless would disappear, but she didn't know where he went. You can follow me, or you can refuse. Seeing the girl's hesitation, Dustless said, I won't force you. After all, you have your own life. After we leave, we will never return to this world. It can be said to be an eternal farewell. Just me and Lord Dustless. Krolu asked with some apprehension. Originally, there was also the 3 palaces, 3 leaves, and Chuxiaoya, but I don't know where those 2 girls went. Dustless sighed faintly and said, I hope they will appear when I leave. Awoo! A furious roar filled with endless hatred shook the heavens. A visible ripple swept across the sky like a shockwave, spreading into the distance. Yo! Dustless grinned and looked at the dying big insect. He laughed and said, we have underestimated this thing. This beast's vitality is very strong. Beast? Hearing this, Krolu was also speechless. The seraph of termination was a worm in Dustless's mouth. Even if it looked like a worm, it was still a godlike existence. Now, Dustless actually called someone else a beast. Could he not be so arrogant? Boom boom boom. The huge bug flapped its wings and soared high again. Violent wind and waves rushed out from its 2 wings. Its ugly eyes were scarlet, as if they were burning with raging flames. It looked down at Dustless from the sky. Still holding a grudge. Just now, Dustless beat this thing up, so it probably hated him in its heart. Don't worry, you don't have to look at me so fiercely. You will also die, and die without a burial place. Not even the remains of your corpse will be left. Dustless blinked his eyes, and the scarlet eternal kaleidoscope was exposed to the air. Those mysterious eyes were like black holes, and looking at them would cause one to sink into them. Awoo! The huge insect opened its mouth again, and a thick black pillar came out, directly smashing towards Dustless. Amaterasu! Dustless coldly snorted, and the power of his eyes was twisted to the extreme. Awoo! 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 The giant bug screamed again. He raised his head and looked. In the blink of an eye, his body was burning with black flames. The evil fire quickly dismembered his skin, followed by his flesh and blood, and then his internal organs. There was no exception. Even the black liquid that was about to hit Dustless was burned without a trace. Under Amaterasu, everything will be turned into ashes. From the beginning to the end, in just a few seconds, the seraph of termination, that is, the big flying insect, was burned to ashes, and even the bones were swept away by Amaterasu. It died just like that. The seraph of termination was easily destroyed in a snap of a finger. The shocked Krolu couldn't even speak, and looked at Dustless with eyes full of questions. That's probably it, killing that insect and leaving its corpse. Amaterasu is not such a gentle ninjutsu, that guy has already disappeared without a trace. P.S. 3,000 flowers plus updates, 3,000 rewards plus updates, 1,000 reviews plus updates, 500 automatic subscriptions plus updates. Chapter 24-24. After Dustless finished off the seraph, Boa Hancock's battle also came to an end. Bang! Hancock stepped on Ike's Hanran's chest, her eyes as cold as ice, and declared domineeringly, "Children's fight, how long are you going to continue?" Show me your full strength. Hearing this, a helpless smile appeared on Ike's Honglotus's face. How disappointing. That was my full strength. Even my ghost was beaten away by you. Just now, Kaijin Hiro was controlling Ike's Honren, but he was beaten away by Hancock, and Ike's Honren's consciousness was restored. There was a sense of helplessness in Ikane's Red Lotus words. She could not help but look up at the heavens and ask absent-mindedly, is the gap between me and Dustless that big? What did that guy do to deserve it? Why? Bang! Who would have thought that before Ike's Honren could finish her nonsense, Hancock's foot swept over. The heel of her high heels directly blocked Ike's Honren's throat. Don't get carried away. You want to be on equal footing with Lord Dustless. Do you know? You don't even have the qualifications to carry his shoes. Hancock smiled disdainfully and said sarcastically, 1,000 years ago, Dustless, Sama was at the top of a planet. Now he is willing to put down his status and play with you ants. You should feel honored. Hancock sneered, her beautiful and enchanting cheeks were full of ridicule. You're about to die, yet you still dare to speak such arrogant words. From the beginning to the end, you've chosen the wrong opponent. Hancock said coldly, as Dustless Sama once said, the biggest mistake of humans is not being weak, but being distracted. He didn't figure out who he should offend and who he shouldn't. All in all, I only have one conclusion for your short life, you are blind. Hancock was disdainful. Dustless was a god in her heart. Ikane's Honglotus was overestimating herself if she thought she could defeat him. My blazing angel of termination will definitely destroy that fellow. Ines Red Lotus shouted furiously. That is the incarnation of God. It can destroy the world. Really? Hancock pursed her lips into a smile, and the seductive charm that flowed out of her was captivating. I forgot to tell you. During the 1,000 years that I've followed Lord Wu Qin, countless gods and planets have been destroyed by him. I can count them with 2 hands. Crack. As soon as she finished speaking, Hancock stepped on Ike's Honren's throat and broke it. This kind of ant was not qualified to talk about Dustless. A little mouse actually wanted to fight with the person who destroyed a planet and even wanted to defeat him. Wasn't that too ridiculous? Hancock was done, and so was his death. What? I thought Dustless had found a good toy for me, but it turns out that it's just a one-time thing. To think that I thought I could torture him forever. TSK, how disappointing. Chapter 24-25. By the way, her star-like bright eyes blinked slightly. Isteth held her chin with her hand and said, I forgot to tell you. I just found 2 little girls. They said they knew you. They seem to be called Sangong San and Ran Xiaoya, that's good. Hearing that, Wu Chen finally let out a sigh of relief. His heart had always been concerned about the 2 girls. Sir Dustless, are you done with the trivial matters? Hancock, who was standing on the side, asked abruptly. Her eyes were filled with a lovely smile, and her cheeks were puffed up. The faint feeling of seduction was very appetizing. Of course, Isteth nodded immediately and looked at Dustless. Ahem, noticing the changes in the expressions of the 2 women, Dustless coughed awkwardly and suddenly understood the thoughts of the 2. He waved to Krolu and said, I have something to say to the 2 of them. You can leave here for a while. Krolu looked at Dustless with surprise, and immediately glanced at Isteth and Hancock from the corner of her eyes. Finally, she nodded slightly and left. Hoo-hoo-hoo, on the deserted roof, the cold wind whistled. Krola's coat was blown high, and her snow-white legs were exposed. Krola's eyes looked at the distant sky in a daze. Those 2 women. Where did they come from? They seemed to be very familiar with Sir Dustless. Their relationship must not be ordinary. And they are so beautiful. Krola's mind was full of Hancock and his death. At this moment, Her Majesty Queen was in a daze with an inexplicable melancholy. After all, she had lived for thousands of years. Krola's experience was beyond doubt. Although her strength was not as good as Hancock and his death, her experience was much more than the two women. What Dustless said just now, Krola naturally understood what it meant. Don't hide, come out. After being silent for a short while, Krola suddenly opened his dry mouth. You want to know who the two women are, right? Actually, I don't know either. It's fine that she's so beautiful, but she's so strong that she's unreliable. Damn God, sometimes it's really unfair. After Kolulu said this, two figures walked up the stairs to the roof. The two women looked at each other. It was San Gong, San Yi, and San Xiaoya. The two girls were humans, while Kolulu was a vampire. If it was in the past, it would have been a bloody battle. However, in this world, both humans and vampires had been destroyed one after another. The hatred between the two races had also disappeared. That makes sense. The three palaces, three leaves, and Swan Xiaoya nodded in agreement. Jealousy is useless. Those two women are different. Apart from being beautiful, they are also very strong. As you can see, Lord Dustless trusts them very much. Kolulu's beautiful eyes couldn't help but dim. In terms of beauty, she thought that she was not inferior to Hancock and his death, but the key was that she lost in strength. When the gap in strength was big, there was a gap in temperament in all aspects. In front of Hancock and his death, Kolulu always felt a little ashamed. Of course, this was only in terms of strength. On the other side, Dustless also opened his eyes from a drunken stupor. This is really a bad habit. After a long time, you can annihilate yourself, forget your dreams, and easily make mistakes. Femme fatale is not wrong at all. In the warm cup, Dustless looked up at the ceiling and muttered to himself. At this moment, he enjoyed the blessing of having two women. Hancock and his death were nestled on his left and right sides, and their heads were on Dustless's shoulders. The three of them were naked, and their clothes didn't cover their bodies. Hancock and his death's delicate and pretty faces were still blushing as if they were drunk. People with sharp eyes could also catch the satisfaction in the eyes of the two women. It was self-evident what they had just experienced. You are really a playboy. You have a group of beautiful wives at home, and you are still fooling around outside. Esteth stared at Dustless with dissatisfaction, and at the same time, pinched his waist. Although Hancock didn't act like Esteth, she also snorted. You can't say that. Dustless was indifferent and explained faintly, first of all, they are still virgins. I didn't do anything out of the ordinary. They are willing to follow me. Isn't it because of your flowery words that deceived our sisters? Hancock rolled her eyes. She had a deep understanding of Dustless's despicable, shameless, and insidious nature. This time, it's not my fault. Instead, it's your appearance that stimulated their competitiveness. Dustless's eyes flashed with a wisp of wisdom, and he calmly explained, women are very complicated creatures. When they see beautiful things, they want to compete. For example, the appearance of you two, your perfection made them see their flaws, so it also stimulated their competitiveness. Originally, they didn't want to go with me. As a result, when they saw the strength of you two, they also had the desire to become stronger, so they chose to follow me. After all, it's all your fault. I didn't want to attract women, but the appearance of you two caused me to fall into the fire pit. Dustless, your shamelessness has refreshed my understanding. That kind of cute little girl is around you. Is it also called falling into the fire pit? Esteth was speechless on Dustless's chest. This guy is really getting more and more shameless. Of course, after all, I am a person who is loyal to marriage. Dustless said calmly without blushing. The two women couldn't wait to beat this guy. You have a group of wives and concubines, how dare you say that you are loyal to marriage? Chapter 24-26. Forget it, you are used to being free. We can't stop you. But Dustless, you have to remember one thing, don't do anything wrong to others. I can see that the three girls care about you very much and treat you as a support. Death looked at Dustless seriously with a little warning. They are all very cute. Boa Hancock also nodded and agreed. Do you two know how to talk? Am I that kind of ruthless person? Dustless's face was extremely strange, especially when Death just said that he was a ruthless scum. Let's change the topic. Since the things that should be solved have been solved, then let's leave. After putting on his pajamas, Dustless went to the window and looked at the world full of ruins. After a while, he shook his head and said, "It's too boring." In the next day, Dustless gave a lot of time to Mia, Sanya, Clolu, and Yu Xiaoya. They still had some trivial things to deal with, especially Yu Xiaoya. Although the Yu family was destroyed, there were still some people who escaped the attack of IK's Hanren, but Yu Xiaoya didn't have a good impression of them. After that, she went to burn a few incense sticks for Yu Tianli, and then left with Dustless. After that, Dustless and the rest vanished from this world without a trace. Under the blue sky, the pedestrians on the road hurried away. Everyone's expression was busy. People's long life was like this. After getting married and having children, they had to think about the future, and their career was getting busier and busier. However, there were exceptions. On a bench in a park, a young man was sitting with a tangled face. He looked very lazy and had no fighting spirit. It's really a bad year. How can I travel to such a strange world? There is no market for men. It's just a group of women fighting with Nova. Are you kidding me? Dustless looked up at the sky, his expression was a little bitter. After experiencing so many worlds, it was the first time that he traveled to such a special planet. It seems to be called the world of 0-degree warrior. Dustless muttered to himself. Just as he was pondering, a golden-haired little brat suddenly walked over and berated, "Hey, you're my servant from now on." This kid had a cute appearance. He was not old, estimated to be at most 5 or 6 years old. He was dressed well. At first glance, he was the young master of a big family. At this moment, the child looked at Dustless with an arrogant and proud face. Wuchen didn't say anything and just looked at him quietly. He was just a child. There was no need to argue with him. The reason why this child wanted Wuchen to be his servant was that he had just beaten up a few hooligans who were looking for trouble. This kid happened to see it, so he followed him all the way. Let's go and eat something. Disinclined to talk nonsense, Wuchen left directly. Stop right there. Do you know who I am? The golden-haired child saw that he was being ignored and immediately said angrily, "I'm the eldest son of Bridget's family. Watch your attitude. If you don't obey me, I can break your legs at any time." Dustless family. After hearing this family, Dustless suddenly stopped in his tracks. A terrifying murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He stared at the kid carefully and asked indifferently, "Then I will go with you. Bring me to your family now." The reason why he agreed to go to this kid's family was naturally to get rid of this disgusting family. Dustless didn't have a good impression of them at all. I thought you had a lot of integrity. It turns out that you're just a money-grubbing trash. Ha 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 ha. Sure enough, money is the best medicine for everything. The golden-haired brat curled his lips and sneered. He didn't notice Wuchen's coldness. Bumping into me only means that your family has reached a certain level. Dustless sneered in his heart. He looked at the kid and asked, "Are you called Louis L. Dustless?" Ha ha ha, you know me. The kid was stunned. Then, he laughed proudly and said, I didn't expect to be so famous at such a young age. Ha ha ha, what AF asterisk king retard. Dustless lowered his head and looked at the kid. He wanted to kill him more and more. The world was so big, but they had to meet in such a small place. All this showed that this kid deserved to die. My name is Dustless. Bring me to your family quickly. Dustless urged impatiently. Let me, a country bumpkin who has never seen the world, see a little of what a rich family is like. Okay. Then I will open your eyes. You country bumpkin, don't be scared. Louis nodded lightly. Soon, a group of men in black ran over and surrounded him. They were probably Louis's bodyguards. Then, a few black luxury cars drove over. Dustless and Louis sat in the same car. Hey. Can you teach me the move you used just now? How much is it? Name a price. I may be young, but my father is very rich. He can buy the whole world. Louis introduced arrogantly. I will teach you when we get to your house. Dustless replied casually. He kept looking at the scenery outside the window. He would destroy this family later as a punishment for evil and a reward for good. Ha ha ha. With your skills, that stupid sister of mine will definitely obey. If she dares to disobey me, I will make her and her mother my slaves. Louis laughed crazily. His eyes were full of lust. However, it was his casual words that attracted Dustless's attention. Tell me about your sister. Dustless asked in boredom. I can teach you a very powerful move. You can fight 100 people at once. Really? Louis L. Dustless said happily. Okay. My sister just came yesterday. She seems to be my father's affair partner. Her name is Chateliza L. Dustless. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.